School Vouchers, the bill, and what's happening. Beth Brown, she is with Tennessee Education Association's committee, heading over to the Capitol here after this, meaning that you're not in Grundy County teaching the youngsters. They have a substitute today?
Well, Grundy County has graciously given me a release time this year to serve in this role.
Right,
so
in this position,
I've taken leave from my classroom to be here in Nashville to work for all of Tennessee students, not just the ones in my classroom back at home.
Yeah, and I'm curious. You teach high school English, and it's in Grundy County, which more of a rural county and lower tax base than a lot of the more popular. How will something like this, do you think, impact you as you sit as a teacher in your high school if something like this were to occur, as you look at your students?
Okay, so a couple of things that I would say. This bill, the current House version is limited to 4 counties,
right.
But
big ones,
and rural legislators who had expressed some extreme concerns about this bill are now being said, "Oh, don't worry, it's not going to hurt our schools."
Because I was going to say, let's just say what they are. It's Shelby County over there in Memphis, Jackson-Madison County School District, Metro Nashville, and Hamilton County over there near Chattanooga, and Knox County schools.
Yes, so
and those are really the 4 or 5 biggest population areas in the state.
Yeah, I think Jackson-Madison's been taken out.
Has it been taken out? Okay, and that's one of the smallest of those.
It is.
Okay.
So you're talking about your 4 largest school districts, but here's what alarms me: when you've got someone coming to rural legislators and saying you can vote for this bill because it's not going to hurt your districts. That should be sending alarm bells, because if it's going to hurt rural districts, how can we say that it's not going to have the same kind of damage to our urban districts? And what message are we sending to our students and to educators in those districts that you're not worth the same concern and attention as these rural districts are? And I say that coming from a rural district.
Yeah.
I'm a rural educator, and I still oppose this bill because it's bad for all students. If it's bad for rural districts, and that's how it's being sold to rural legislators, it's bad for all districts. It's bad for our students.
You're thinking that the perception is there are different needs to some degree, which to a degree may be true when you're dealing with very, very large districts that may have certain problems that rural ones, and I'm imagine small and rural ones have problems the larger ones don't have. Is that part of it?
Possibly, but I would say this: we all have needs that could be helped with additional funding. When we could invest money in reading specialists or school counselors or nurses, I just don't see any district benefit from having resources drained from their district when it could be invested in what students really need. And so, and I think we also have to remember 99% of our students are going to remain in public schools. And in these 4 districts that are being targeted, 99% of the students in those districts are still going to be served by the public schools, but if this bill passes, they're going to be served by public schools with fewer resources. And I just don't see how that is going to improve performance of public schools. If that's the premise, that this is all about improving how our schools are performing, how can anybody logically think that expecting students and educators to do more with less is going to improve those educational outcomes? It does not make sense to me at all.
I think some who may advocate for this say that it at least gives some parents the financial ability to have maybe some choice and options. Now, I know in some of the public schools there are lotteries set up where there's open enrollment, or maybe the ability to put your child's name into a hat to maybe be chosen for some magnet school or something like that. What do you think? Is expanding something like that, and I'm not even sure how you feel about that type of thing, a potential alternative, giving parents more of an option than dealing with a voucher program where maybe parents have more options to maybe consider a different school than the one in their neighborhood? Public, I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I think what we really need to focus on is getting parents and educators working together, if we want to talk about parents and students having some choice, having some say-so in the educational decisions that are made at the district level, I think that that's great. But let's talk about the best way to do that. I think we should be having partnerships between parents and schools to talk about what's best for that community. And I think that when we have a lot of top-down policy making coming from Nashville that's really driving the direction of public schools, that we're limiting the opportunity for parents and educators within those communities to do what they know is best for the students there.
Okay. Would you say that all public schools are equal? I'm not that they should be, but they're all equal, or some better than others?
I think that every student deserves a great education in a great public school, and I think that just like my classroom is a microcosm of what's happening in Grundy County and what's happening in our world. Every classroom is different. Every school is different. They all have different needs. They all have different challenges. And I think that as educators and as concerned citizens, that should be our focus, and we should be working towards solutions that are going to improve schools for everybody.
Right. So what is it that makes the difference, probably, in your mind? Why is it, what are the factors that can make for a more higher achieving school than another public school that, for whatever reason, has lower achieving students?
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a very concrete example from my experience as a high school English teacher in Grundy County. You know, our state really loves testing. They value it. The state has decided that this is the way to measure student achievement. And so when I think about the testing system that we currently have, my students are never going to perform at the same level as, say, students in Williamson County, for a variety of reasons. Okay, we have a testing platform that relies heavily on students' computer skills. Well, in my school, in my classroom, most of my students don't have a computer. They may have a cell phone that can access the internet, but not all of them do. So internet access, the computer skills, access to books at an early age, having families that are able to invest with reading and things like that in the early formative years. So there are a lot of factors that influence a student's performance that's not necessarily indicative of whether or not the school is doing a good job. That we just have limited resources, and we do the best that we can with what we've got.
Right. I guess that's it. I think there's good people in every single school, and good kids.
Absolutely.
It's resources. But you talk about maybe Williamson County, and you have a PTO. That's very involved with some wealthy parents that can pour. And resources are not always the answer, by the way. A brilliant kid's going to probably do well no matter where you put him or her, even though the more that they have to draw on, I guess the better opportunity for them to grow. Correct? I
would agree with that. You know, I definitely believe that our intelligence and our potential is not defined by our neighborhood or our zip code, and I don't think that our educational opportunities should be either.
Right.
I think we need to figure out how can we invest in our public schools so that every student has the resources that he or she needs in order to be successful at whatever they want to do once they finish high school.
Yeah, you just want them to be able to not just pass, okay, but I want them to be able to prosper. And that's the bottom line with education, why all of us should care whenever these issues come up, right? I mean, this is the whole workforce and leaders of the future, and making sure the education works and doesn't fall by the wayside. So as it stands today, you're going to head over to the legislature, and they'll be talking about it on the floor?
Possibly. Haven't checked my phone in the last hour.
Okay, I know. Thank you for turning that off while you're on the show.
You're welcome. But I will be heading over to the Cordell Hall building door. Well, actually, we'll go over in the chamber. The House will be in session this morning. I'm not sure yet whether or not they'll be considering their version of this voucher bill. But you know, this is certainly not a done deal. The Senate still has its version, and it's still working through the process. So, you know, citizens still have an opportunity to reach out to their representative or their senator and let their wishes be known.
I know lawmakers are going to be the ones that decide this issue, but if something like this went to a statewide referendum, do you think it would pass?
I don't think so, and I know that some people say that well, I'll just say this. We have done extensive polling on this for the last 4 years. Every time we are polling people about different issues, we always add a question about vouchers. 2-to-1 Tennesseans say no way.
They do. And now I will say, that's interesting to me. I would venture several of them that see this, and this would have included me just a few short months ago, would have said vouchers. I think I know what that is, but I'm not sure. And I would venture to guess there's a lot of folks out there that still are not, and it's not hard to figure out, but they just haven't paid attention.
Well, so
and they don't know what the heck vouchers are.
We actually defined it in our question.
Okay.
The question was, do you support public tax dollars going to pay for private school education? Again, 2-to-1 Tennesseans said no.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. I wonder what lawmakers will be hearing. It's moving forward and all that.
Yeah.
Beth, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on, and we'll see how things play out at the legislature. We'll continue to follow this story. Take a break. I'll be back with the programming notes coming up right after this.